first graders about the life cycle, but this is truly an experience that they will never forget. This quote by first grade teacher Lindsay Leventhal explains the motivation behind hatching eggs in schools and how memorable it is to her students. I am qualified to give this speech on hatching poultry in schools and its educational value because I have done extensive research into the benefits of and concerns with hatching eggs in classrooms. I have incubated and hatched eggs myself, and I've spoken with our state representatives about why they should not ban incubating and hatching poultry in schools. During my persuasive speech, I will explain the pros and the cons of hatching poultry in schools and defend my belief that hatching poultry in schools should not be banned. So what is poultry incubation? So poultry incubation is when eggs are kept at a regular temperature and humidity for a certain amount of time depending on the bird until they hatch. So for chickens it's about 21 days, turkeys 28, ducks are also 28 days, and geese about 30 days. These are the four most common species of birds that you would incubate in a classroom. So why would a school want to incubate birds? Schools often pick up this project in science or agriculture classes to teach kids about the life cycle, where their food comes from, and for the kids to have a positive experience with agriculture. Tom Apple describes the different ages and classes that incubate eggs. He states either in elementary school, junior high, high school, could be in a science class, or could be in an agriculture class. So many of these schools incubate eggs to teach their students about agriculture. Who would want that to stop? So the bill proposed by the House Committee of Agriculture and Finance Policy proposed House File 4655. So this is just an outline of what the bill looks like. Chair Vang of this committee brought the bill to the committee to ban classroom hatching projects in all schools and school organizations. So her motivation behind this bill was her staffer, who's part of a waterfowl rescue program. She rescues ducks from the wild that she believes were domestic and keeps them in her house in diapers. So that is one way that she was influenced to kind of put this forth, because her staffer had very important opinions about this topic. So this ban was made with a few concerns of hers in mind, one of which was potential disease transmission. So these would be zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic means that these diseases can be passed on from the chickens to the people. And so a couple of those diseases would be Campylobacter, E. coli, Salmonella, all of which can be prevented with proper sanitation. So Representative Vang shared a couple of her concerns about this disease that's most commonly spread by eating undercooked meat, stating there are also risks to children and teachers from the eggs and birds. Salmonella is a factor which children are most susceptible to. So like I said, some other diseases would be Campylobacter and E. coli, and all three of these diseases can be prevented with proper sanitation methods by just washing your hands, wiping down counters, making sure you're clean and safe around the birds. So the spread of disease between young birds and young children is not to be overlooked. However, cleaning up after handling is super effective in handling this. Another concern with classroom incubation is how well the birds will be taken care of. Those who are against hatching eggs in schools may be worried about children taking care of something alive that they don't know much about. They may also be concerned with where the birds will go once they hatch. Helen Cooper, an interviewee in Turner's article, states, 9 times out of 10, a concerned parent contacts me saying there is nothing in place for the chicks, that they will be sent back to the egg company and destroyed. So Cooper operates a rescue program in the UK for cockerels, so those are the male chickens after they hatch. And her biggest concern with the hatching eggs in schools would be where the chickens are going to go after they are hatched, since they are more challenging to take care of, as cockerels they'll fight, or just, they don't lay eggs, so schools don't really want to keep those afterward. So though these concerns are valid, many schools that take part in this opportunity often spend weeks teaching kids how to take care of the eggs and the birds, and an experienced adult is present at all times. They also have homes for the birds set up before acquiring the eggs in the first place. So like I said, to make sure that the safety of the students and the poultry is the top priority, you need to practice good sanitation, educate your students beforehand, and have a plan for post-hatch birds. Every school that I have connections with or have read articles about has a set plan for the education of the students during the incubation process. As it is a school lesson, they are making sure these students are fully educated before they get into this. And a plan for the birds to go once they are hatched. In Pope's article, Leslie Dill, the 4-H agent for New Hanover, North Carolina's Extension Center, states, "The children have to turn the eggs 3 times a day in the incubator. Once they hatch, the children see life happen. The baby chicks are taken to Brunswick County for new life on a farm." This quote demonstrates one of the many schools with kids who are educated properly on how to incubate the eggs and a set plan for the chickens once they hatch. Students and teachers strive to take the best care of their birds, and while they do this, they learn incredible life lessons. The biggest thing I would like to stress during my speech is the importance of egg literacy. So egg literacy is just knowing the basics of agriculture. And it's very important to a world that is constantly growing, and everyone requires food and other resources provided by the agricultural industry. Many schools in Minnesota and across the country have an egg incubation lesson in class. Tom Apple, the Chief Director of Agriculture Educators in Minnesota, states, "We have 210 of those 217 schools that do hatch eggs as part of an educational project." He was describing a survey he sent out to the districts he serves across Minnesota, and 97% of these schools responded with, yes, they do hatch birds in their classes. Another example of a classroom that was successful in hatching their eggs is Crystal Wilson, a 6th grade science teacher in Mississippi. She states in Crawford's article, referring to her students, "Many of them didn't know the chicken they ate came from an egg. And if some kids as old as 12 years old don't know that a chicken hatches from an egg, clearly some hands-on education is necessary." Dedicated agriculture and science teachers are making this essential knowledge more accessible to children every day. They should be allowed to continue their great work and not be restricted from hatching eggs in class. To conclude, there are many pros and cons of hatching eggs in schools, and the benefits of well-educated kids who are going to continue the future of agriculture largely outweigh the preventable risks. Ultimately, the agricultural education of students throughout our nation is the most important. If we want the agriculture industry to continue to produce food for the world, we must start at our roots and grow students who know where their food comes from. Thank you for listening to my speech.